Welcome all to a new episode of DT Vector, the podcast where we explore the people, technologies, financing, and ideas that are shaping the future of build world. I'm Eugen, your host, and today I'm joined by Roger Tofft, founder and CEO of PropTech Sweden. It's a co-founder of Necta and board member of the Europe PropTech Association. Roger has some really cool stories. He's a serial entrepreneur who had developed, scaled, and transitioned startups to international audiences, and today leads one of the most active communities driving innovation in the Nordic and the global PropTech landscape. Welcome, Roger, to the DT Vector, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much for joining to have that invitation. I really appreciate it.
So let's dive in. And first of all, we want to find out a little bit about your personal and professional background. So you are based in London right now, and you are leading PropTech Sweden today.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm partly based in London and also Sweden. So I'm traveling between these two countries. Yes, I've been doing that for the last 8 years. So it's been a journey, but after COVID, we decided part-time with the kids also to stay in London. And with that, of course, exploring the ecosystem with PropTech Sweden and finding our spot in Sweden. I couldn't just let the ecosystem from Sweden go. So I had to have both boots in the grounds.
So how's that working right now? Because
Well, of course, we are just had a discussion because we have an event in Stockholm tomorrow, and today I'm actually in London. And you have to think both what's suitable for the families, sustainability, and also your colleagues and the way of what you're going to do. So we're having a great event tomorrow in Stockholm, actually collaborating through tech with PropTech. So I think they're quite dynamic and quite interesting. How we're talking a lot about, the future data center, but how is the future food and tech and properties coming and combined? So we're having a event tomorrow, but I'm actually decided today not to go in, and because my colleague can take that, so that's perfect on that point of view because we grow in PropTech Sweden. So we have more and more colleagues that can help me, so it works better and better.
in your early career, you've launched some innovative projects. Can you tell us a little bit about how that went?
Yeah, no, it's when it comes to my journey as a private. I'm a sales guy from the beginning. So I've been in sales since I was 20. I'm actually a sailor. So my university was actually on a boat and went on a boat around Europe. But I thought it was so boring. Well, it was fun because it was so much experience. But your whole shipping industry is changing from being maybe in the harbor a couple of days, weeks. Now you just went in with use tankers. You were in there 6 to 8 hours, got some oil or something like, and then you have to leave. So that's shifting. I had when I starting that journey, I thought, I'm going to be seeing different kind of city, 4 or 5, the old days. So from that point of view, I went back and I played football on a quite high level. So I started playing football, and then I had to have
any known team or
no, not in Sweden. No, it's the second league, so it's just it's not the highest. So no, I'm not so good. I'm not a Zlatan. I'm the same age as Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and I'm actually played against him, but no, he's different from him to me. But yeah. So what happened was I needed a part-time job. So then I actually started doing phone sales. So I sold a sports book for many, many years ago. So I had like 120 calls a day and called people at nights about selling, storybooks about sports, like the football book 2000, the football book 1994, and so on. So that's how I started my career with sales. And then I've been in printing industry. I've been into the industry of sports. So I was one of the sales team of our Swedish national arena. And that's where actually my journey started as an entrepreneur. because I had a client who was a real estate client who wanted to buy one of these boxes. And at the same time, I bought my first property, my first flat. And then I saw it like digital screens. Digital screens should be involved in properties. And so I went to the real estate and said, why don't you have started with digital screens? And they said, oh, we're actually looking into that. And that's how I actually started my first company. So Split Sign was my first. The whole point was to have a split sign. So half of it was the name on the real estate people or the people who lives in the flat, and half of it was advertising. So the local market, local shopping or local food store should advertise on that. So we started to do that. And at the same time, when the real estate asked me, well, if you're doing our digital screens, can you do digital post boxes, letter boxes? And then we do letter boxes. And then they asked, can you do keys and, the whole key access? And then we added that in the solution. And then they asked about 10-week experience. Can you do laundry booking and so on? So it's a quite interesting journey. And then 2016, I did the smartest property in Sweden together with a real estate. So that's how I came into PropTech properly without any clue what it actually was.
I think you had a good start in sales also, because you were saying that you're selling magazines in 94. Actually, that's the year when Sweden was in semifinals at World Cup, and Sweden beat Romania in the
Correct.
quarterfinals.
Yes, I know. Sorry for that. I shouldn't bring that up today. Sorry for that. No, it was Hadji, I think his name, one of the key player in Romania. Yes. So we normally sold a book on that was there was a winner. When you wanted to sell a sports book, you always talked about 1994 from Sweden.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so from that entering in the prop tech community, how things went from that?
Yeah, so that at the same time, I launched SplitSign, I had another company who called Mobil go offer. So it's a mobile charging for mobile phones, because I was one of those guys that always hated when my battery went dead on the phone. So there was a guy who came to me and said, you should all your screens, you should put leads for charging and sell advertising, and then you can charge your phone and you have, you can see the advertising on the screen. And then I looked into that and I was like, I don't think that's the best options as a consumer, because I normally always look at from the experience as a consumer. And from that point of view, we found this called Chartbox. So we did like boxes of charging. So you put your phone in, you lock it, and that came quite successful. So we did like 100 events a year. And then we had a huge energy company in Sweden bought like 50 machines. All the energy companies loved it, because when you touch energy, what one of our customers said, you die. So now finally they had something to give back to the customers. So they sponsored all these charge stations with their energy branding and advertising free charging from Eon or free charging from energy companies. So it was just a mindset of how can we bring this out to the community and to the ecosystem. The challenge then that I learned about the real estate was all the shopping center didn't want to pay for the customer experience. So this was 2018, I think. So people, when we talk to the shopping center and real estate people, there's like, well, the consumer is there anyway. The shoppers is there. Why should we pay extra for a charging box so they can stay longer? But then I understood that real estate, they are thinking about the customer, but they don't really want to pay for that service then. So I think that has been a quite big change to today, the last 10, 15 years. So where we're actually going now, you almost pay people to get into the shopping center. So it's been a huge experience from that point of view. And then we put out one of the charge stations at the central station And we had like the first month, we had 25,000 charges on one box. So it's quite interesting to understand the whole experience with, the sharing economy also, because when you don't own these leads, people don't, people pull the leads and people put drugs in their boxes and things that when you're not in the business, you don't think about it. But when you see how people treating stuff, how you get, you learn so much about the society and how the world is actually, how the world is. So it's quite interesting journey. So I have a lot of experience from the whole sharing economy.
Mhm. And along the way, what other, let's say, big surprises did you have in this user experience part? Maybe it's a story from your, let's say, ecosystem, or the, a story that you heard, because a lot of things change in the last years on how we approach technology. If we're
I
looking only
think
after, yeah.
I think that one of the biggest mistake I did as when I started my first or second company was I thought service it should be easy, it should be handled, but it's very very expensive to have a service company. So I mean, when I came to this charge station, I put them everywhere. I put them in North Sweden, I put them in South, I put them in West, I put them in East, and then suddenly, how I get a service maintenance, but how do you actually, how do you actually manage it with people, and how much it costs to travel and so on. So that was a big journey for everyone who works with a product. I think the biggest change is, of course, softwares, because now we went from product, you need maintenance, you need people outside. Now we're going into a new phase with the whole software, especially in PropTech, right? So I think that's the new journeys, how you're building companies and what you should think about as a startup and a scale up. Work where the classic sell where you're digging and where you're standing. Start with that. And when you have a model, a business model that actually works, then you can start looking at the next phase.
Mhm. And from, if we're going to, let's say, a wider perspective, how do you think the global PropTech ecosystem look today?
Well, I think when it comes to PropTech, if we go into that whole thing, it's a super, super interesting area where we are right now. I know I had for like 5 years, 3 years ago, we started PropTech Sweden for 5, 6 years ago. And one of the things we saw after a couple of years that people actually told me that PropTech as a word will die. So you chose the wrong name on your company. And that was quite interesting to see. But now it's like everyone talking about PropTech. You don't talk about digital technique anymore. I were at a conference last week, and stuff that we've been before was, digital service or technical. You change all of those words to PropTech now. So as soon as you're talking about technique, it's PropTech. I think that's a huge change in the industry for us who are working in the field. And also because of, the whole COVID, internet, where we're going, the market is so much global. But what we're seeing, and as everyone knows, is the real estate market is very, very local. So that this is one of the biggest challenges in the industry, especially in Europe, because we're so fragmented Europe market. So each country have their own rules. Each market have their own proper challenge with affordable houses, the constructions and so on. So I think that's the next thing now. As a European, as a Europe, that's why I think it's so important for the PropTech scene to get together in Europe, because we can actually solve problem together in Europe when it comes to laws, rules, regulations, startups I actually do learning. So I think that's where we've seen the last couple of years is been very local. Now we go global. The European markets get together, and I think it's just a fun time right now. I think it's happening so much. I mean, I get pitches, everything from AI, energy, solving the world problem to product that can solve bed bugs problem. So everything is going on and is bubble. So I think it's yeah, it's a really fun time to be alive in PropTech right now.
And do you think that the solutions, the startups that are having some solutions for real estate problems, are localized like real estate is when they are developing something? Where do you see that they are approaching wider and worldwide problems?
I think what we've been seeing the last half year in Sweden is the company who's being successful to getting investment is those companies who's been longer around for more than 10 years. So we see a gap. One of the challenge in the real estate industry is combined. I normally take the combination with life science and medicine. A lot of these solution takes longer than 10 years to actually, with a patent and all the rules and regulation. And I think the real estate industry is quite similar to the medical industry. As some of these solutions takes actually longer than 10 years to develop and get clients and solve and to scale up. So I think that's one of the challenge as a venture capital company right now to how should you invest in prop tech when the journey normally take longer than 10 years. So I think this is something we all should need to discuss more. It's like, how can we together put in money correctly in the ecosystem without just, blowing them off, or no one is successful? How can we be successful for the industry together? Because everyone, like, again, is like, do we want to pay 60% of our salary just to live? For me, that's about affordable houses, isn't it? If we together, all the new people around the world or Europe can help, it's like, what is affordable houses? How can we make that cheaper? How can we build cheaper? How can we maintain the property cheaper? So I think, again, we are in the next level of what is the future of living and how shall we actually live and work, because that's where we are. And the solutions, like you said, it's a lot about the last couple of 2 years has been a lot about AI and energy, because it's been a massive, with energy and the wars and so on. And I think now we see clear the real estate companies in Sweden. We had a company yesterday that in the news said they saved 67% with the new tools and new AI. My first question is, why haven't you done this before? Why have we waited so many years? But again, if you take the positive of it, it's still, we're starting to make changes. So I think when we're starting now making changes with the energy system and all the real estate players is on it and just save energy, what is the next thing? And that's what we're looking for now. What is the next big thing after energy?
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the part is affordable houses. How can we make life easier for everyone to live, to just have a bed and a roof?
I really like your perspective on and the correlation with the medicine part, and what's with those 10 years that startup or a platform needs that time to develop, because actually there are a lot of standards and a lot of things to put in place, even if, when you are building a building. So if you want to align all the information you can use in the year that you rent it, you own it, or you uh, live in it actually makes a lot of sense. So
especially now with the taxonomies that happens and all the sustainabilities and all the reports. I mean, even Europe had to go back, didn't they, about the biggest company with sustainable, the ESG report and the taxonomy. The thing that I think there is also, why don't we teach all the startups to report properly from the beginning? So instead of learning the old dog to sit, like if we get it into all the startup and scale up now, this is how you should report. This is how you should think about sustainability. So when they're growing, they already have those places on, and they can be the leaders. They can be the one who's the front runners for the rest of us. So I think, and like you said, the whole challenge is with the real estate is there's so much rules and regulations, especially in construction, especially in Sweden. Sweden is quite far ahead when it comes to rules and regulation. That's why sometimes it takes so long.
yeah, but what if we're looking, okay, in Europe, but I know you have a lot of experience and you're looking to other markets like US, Asia, Middle East, how they're approaching PropTech adoption.
Well, I can just, I'm going to Riyadh cityscape here in 2 months, I think. That's going to be my first experience in Saudi. So that's going to be super interesting to see. One of the things that struck me was when I was at PropTech Connect in September, the Dubai Land Department says that all the financial transactions in real estate will be 7% will be in tokenization, right? They're
70?
quite 7%.
Oh, okay.
7%. So that's a quite interesting journey they're doing. And I think they can be front runners for the rest of the world. We had some really cool tokenization companies in Sweden, but the market is not really there. So even if it's a really cool solution, you need more people to say this is the good thing. I'm spending a lot of weeks in Beirut because my partner is half Lebanese. So we have she has some properties down there and doing some stuff. Generally some of the stuff that I get on paper, paper and pens, some of the stuff they're way behind. Especially, Beirut is not the best economy right now either, so I can't give them for that. But at the same time, one of the things that I think Europe, or especially Sweden, is way after, is the adoption of WhatsApp. So if you look in the Middle East, everyone has WhatsApp. WhatsApp on the business calls, the WhatsApp on the phone calls, you're chatting WhatsApp, everything in WhatsApp. But in Sweden, it's a very strange to have WhatsApp as a business call or have that as a service or you're using it. And I don't know how it's for the rest of Europe. Some of the UK company has it, but Sweden is way far behind there. It's quite interesting with tech. It's like some stuff we sometimes overdo, I think. We over-tech it. While in Middle East, just use WhatsApp. And WhatsApp, you get the data, you have good connection, good integrations. It's a major, it's a major platform. So it's quite interesting to see some stuff that comes so far and we lag after. So I think sometimes they're jumping over, a couple of generations because they haven't invested so heavily in that kind of period of years. So I think that's a thing. And then, of course, the other thing is it's in Middle East, especially Saudi and Qatar and so it's. When they go all in, there's so much money. Dubai Land Department said they're gonna, put investment for a PropTech hub. What was it? $200 million. They're gonna create 3,000 new jobs. They're gonna attract 300 new companies. When I'm working in PropTech Sweden, if we would get those numbers, that would be wow. So I think that's the difference. We have a long legacy while they coming in with new money. And with the new world order, what US is not really aligning with the Green Deals and so on. And Asia is actually like China is really far ahead when it comes to their sustainability. So I think it's just a new world order. And that's what I'm trying to tell my ecosystem in Sweden and even in London, here in the UK. We need to, and that's why I want to go to these countries, because we need to find new alliance. We need to find new way to do business. What have they done good and what have we done good? Can we find a combination between their passion and maybe our regulation? So I think again, the world is open up. It's not just about US anymore or UK. It's about the whole world.
So, okay, you have a lot of experience. You are talking about something that you're trying to train from startup. Why are they coming to you? What you are offering to them?
Well, I've been as a, like a dog. I've been barking the last 5 years on everyone. This is us. Let's go. I've been on every event. I've been on every conference around the world. And some of the investors and some of the real estate, oh, I see you again. I see you. When you start to hearing that, you're on the right track. So I have to say, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy people. I mean, I'm traveling a lot, but I'm working also from home a lot in general. So the combination between seeing people and just be out there in the field, I love it. What we've done is combining startups. We have a quite unique model in Sweden. So we're trying to find a combination between the startup and scale up, the real estate buyers, the investment regions. So we have Stockholm, the three biggest cities, Stockholm, Göteborg, and Malmö with us, and then combining that with the university. So in Sweden, we call that triple helix. So combining all these, like these 3 or 4 in one, is making us to be ears on the track, what's going on. So where from the university, the students, what kind of startups do they want to invent? So you can hear what they do. Of course, from Stockholm, from the city, the cities need to be more approached, because I think it's 30 cities in Sweden have signed a climate neutral contract, that's EU, and that's in 2030, right? So that's in 5 years. So if you count 5 years, 4 board meetings a year, so they actually, just to do my calculations correctly, they have about 20 board meetings left to 2030 to take decisions. 20 board meetings to get to a climate neutral city. So they need us, they need our ecosystem, they need our players to be, but at the same time, again, we need to rethink the old problems. So I think the combination with the new people and with the old real estate people and the old people's been long, combining that to get a new discussion. That's where I think. And we have the technique is there now. I mean, look at Lovable, the new Swedish unicorn. I mean, what they've done in this last couple of years, it's amazing. So I think with a new technique, we can actually solve proper problem that we didn't think we could solve a couple of years ago. So I think that's why people also joining PropTech Sweden right now, because they know we are the go-to market. They know we deliver. They know that we are kind. They know we try always to look at their best. So I think that's I normally say just be kind. Try to be kind, and the world it's kinder to you.
That's great. You're talking about an example of company that started from Sweden, but if we're looking at global companies or global initiatives, what do you see today as role models for innovation in PropTech, and not only?
I think one of the if I just can name one Swedish company, I know they invested a lot, and that was one of my things also, that it was a 10x experience. So Avi, they've done a great journey. They've been in the business for a long time, but they really hit the track this year. So they just launched 46,000. Like again, the real estate industry is shifting, I think. because we're moving from pilot projects, constantly pilot projects that we've been hearing about, to the real estate players actually say, let's go. So Heimstone, and that is a European real estate company, it's a Swedish one, but they have flats around Germany, England. So they've signed a huge contract with moving out this tenant experience up to 46,000 flats. So that proves the concept that like we're heading into now. And the good thing is with this, what I think for the whole industry is when Avi signed that huge contract, in 3 years, when the real estate company maybe wants to do a new tender, suddenly it's open up to a whole new market, isn't it? So the more of the real estate players, the more of these bigger deals, the more it will open up for the future, because the real estate players won't go back. It's not like in a couple of years they will say, no, we're not doing tenant experience app anymore. So I think with this, it's open up the industry, which will open up revenues. So that's number key. And Avi signed a contract in Finland also. So you can see now that he's coming, he's moving to different kind of countries. I think that's a good example of what's going on in the industry. And Avi's done great. The team is great. They're working really, really hard and so on. So he's just a great team. It's a role model for the industry, I think. When it comes to what I've been missing, and I think outside in general, it's Sweden is quite not so good at marketplace. I think we have a couple of stuff, of course, but in general, when you go UK or US, these kind of markets, I mean, they have so much more clients, of course. But I mean, look at Matterport and so on. Also, the whole digital, the sales agency, the brokers, and all of that kind of stuff. I still think we're missing some of the pieces in our ecosystem when it comes to that. And also, I think we're still missing a lot of pieces when it comes to digital printing, robotics, and so on. I know Skanska is doing a couple of stuff with robotics, but I still doesn't see it, in the market. I don't read about it. I don't, that kind of stuff. I still missing the robot people out there in the buildings. That's what I see the next thing.
I think it's, as you said, we're for a lot of project in the pilot project phase. And I'm seeing that a lot. Actually, one of the future episodes will be with Robotics company that was a spin-off from university research. So we'll talk about that in the one of
I think that's going to
episodes.
be super interesting to see what can we actually do, what can we not do, and so on. It's
Yeah.
maybe, but also I mean, I know Anthony Slumbers talk about that also. It's making the cake bigger. So the whole thing about the more and more AI can replace people, it's like we can't have a real estate, because real estate is actually about people. It's about meeting the service management. It's about meeting people in the corridor. It's about meeting everyone. So again, I think it's going to come up new roles in the whole like the real estate sector, and that's why we're doing this thing tomorrow with farming, PropTech, and FoodTech. Is the future maybe having apple trees inside of a shopping center? And then you need farmers who actually can grow food inside of the property or shopping centers. So you actually can go and take food while you're in the shopping center. Why not? So the future people work is maybe we need more farmers. We need more people as gardeners to make it greener, because that's what I think is the future cities. It's a greener city. It's not a more concrete city. So it's super exciting where we're heading right.
Actually, that's let's say interesting perspective, because when we are on the weekends and we try to relax, we're going in the nature, and so if we find a way to combine that and to have a sense for the business, okay, maybe to get more revenue or to reduce some costs. So maybe that's the role of the technology, to help us to integrate those parts better, smoother, And
I think that combined, of course, where we are now in the information, because the more and more data we get from the real estate, of course, the more and more we understand what is good for us as a people. And the more and more we understand what's good for us people, the better we can plan to build proper properties, both where we live, where we train, where we have, spare time with the kids, or how we work. So I think, again, that's a combination. And hopefully that data will give us that truth so we can actually build better for the future.
from a real estate company perspective, okay, maybe I want to adopt some things, but there are a lot in the market, and I don't know who to trust, what to think about everything, because everybody from the marketing perspective, they're doing pretty good job. If you're
Mm.
seeing the social media, if you're looking at the websites, you're seeing a lot of problem solvers. Okay, if you use that, you'll get more money or you'll save some cost. How real estate companies should approach that? If I don't know if now they're trying to adopt that a lot of technologies, and they are,
Mm.
let's say, try to be an early adopter.
Mm.
I don't
Mm.
know if the case now. What
Oh, that after,
a
yeah,
company,
exactly.
yeah, what a company should do right now, and how to approach that.
I think number one is joining your association in the country. Join and be engaged. You don't have to go on everything, but just dip your toes in the ecosystem, because there is a lot of good ecosystem in each country. And if you don't have an ecosystem in the country, go on one of the conference. It's worth it. Just go, have a look, and dip your toes in the ecosystem. I think that's number one, just to get an understanding what people talking about. And number two, what I normally tell our real estate companies quite new into this, or people that is new into it, is start with the 4 elements. So you have wind, water, fire, and earth, right? So normally I say start with look at the air quality, the whole air, because that's important for everyone who lives in your or work in the property. Like look at the air, look at the water. We had a problem a couple of 2 months ago in Sweden. The whole part of Sweden went out of water. And also when it's too hot, you can't even with your garden, you can't put water in your garden. So look at the water use. How can you actually use products and solutions to do that? Number 3 is, of course, the fire, the energy. How can you work with energy optimization in the system? And number 4 is the earth. And in that, I normally look at recycling, waste, reuse material when you construct, redo stuff. Can you save some material? We have some couple of really good companies, Palaps in Sweden, that have a reuse hub now with a app that you can reuse the windows and so on. So I normally say start with those 4. Start to look into those 4, grade them 1 to 10. How good are you at them? And then you can, of course, look at the BMS system, the whole, software system. How do you, but start there and just get understanding. And then, of course, as always, I think we miss is the user experience. What does our client in the property, like when you come in to the property, what do you want experience? And then, of course, you have to combine that with budget, as always, of course. But at the same time, we had this was a really wake up call for me. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I sat with real estate, and they tracking their data properly, right? They're tracking the data and everything that they're doing. And he said that the biggest maintenance call they get, like the number one, why their tenants calling in and said this is wrong. That was the front door to the property. That's where they get the most calls on to solve. So either it's open, the code is broken, the handle doesn't work, because also number 2 is combined to security. When you're paying rent, you want to feel secure. So I think this is something we miss when we talk about tech and technology. Is the still, and then he had asked AI, how do we solve this? And then the AI said, you have to put more oil in the car. So it's just a good thing. Like, yeah, we're very high and low, but again, I think those four elements combining with the data on what kind of, what is the tenant experience complain about, the tenant experience, the tenant complain about. When when you understand that, you come quite far in your.
We all know that in companies, the digital transformation often fails because of culture, not technology. Do you have a case to share where you've seen that resistance and maybe that company managed to turn things around? Or if you don't have a specific example, how a real estate company should approach this?
I think it's a good question because, like you said, the technique is out there, right? We can solve a lot of stuff with the technique. It's the people. It's the same for exercise, isn't it? We are very. I'm not saying we're lazy, but we know we're going to exercise. We know that we have to eat good food, but we still doesn't do it, right? And I think it's the same when it comes to work. We know we need to do something. We know we need to prioritize it. The challenge, I think, for the real estate is we are in a transition where the bigger companies have employed CDOs and they have employed sustainable officers. And these two people, and then you have the boards, who is normally very, very financial, especially in real estate. The board is a very heavy financial. They love numbers, right? So we have three different persons: IT, sustainability, environment, and finance. And normally, if you go to all the conferences around the world, even if we're talking about the same thing, sustainability combined with technology, either we go to an event where it's just the CEOs, or we go to the event where it's just the sustainable officers. So what I miss is a combination of where we can see those together. When can they come together and hold hand in hand? Not one each. They will both come to the event and talk about it and experience what they are. So I think that's one of the challenges in the industry in general. You should remember in Sweden also, 80% of all the property owners in Sweden is under 10 employees. So how do we work with that tail of people? And I think, again, that's where I think the PropTech has, and the ecosystem has such an important role. Those who doesn't have enough people in their team, how can they get help from us? And I'm not just talking about PropTech Sweden then, I'm talking about the industry, the sector. How can we have places, conferences, events, round tables that actually help them in their transition? And I don't know how this is in the rest of Europe. It would be interesting to see for the rest of Europe how the real estate owners and the employee is. But so I think, again, in general, we have a couple of really good cases in Sweden. We have Hemsö Fastigheter, they're doing senior living and so on. So Fredrik is a good example in Sweden. He's a front runner. So he's employed a couple of, they have a team. He had a digitalization senior leader, Moa, was really good. So they have a team. They're coming together on events. They're doing stuff together on event and they get the same knowledge. So, you don't have the CDO who has to tell someone who has to tell someone. So they're doing stuff together. And I think with that, they're keeping each other and they can ask questions and they can push each other and they can have a good argument also. So I think that's my recommendation in general. You don't go alone. Try to get a colleague with you and explore together. I think that's a good way to maybe accelerate this transformation that we need to do. But I've seen, like you said, I've seen cases where we're looking at the office, right? And I know the CDO and she's very, very good. And then I asked, before I go to the viewing, can you send a digital map, a digital twin? And they send me a Google map view outside. And I asked her what happened. She's like, well, we're not there yet. And I know she's really front, but I know she has, maybe there's a challenge with the board there. I don't know. But so you see, even if you have a front runner and CDO who's really, really good, if the rest of the asset manager, the people on board, if they don't really understand the customer experience from that point of view, what do I expect? Then you have a challenge. So yes, I think in the future, the real estate owners that is on it now and who can send a digital twin and who can be on it, they will be the winners, because we see more and more that the vacancy is going to be a challenge for a lot of companies out there. So I think it's going to be some hard rush from some of the real estate companies that's going to have a big challenge ahead if they don't really think about the leadership, the team, and the technique.
Yeah, I have to share an insight what we are doing in, let's say, consulting implementation when we're going to clients for BIM or digital twin implementation. We're not developer. We're let's say a service provider, but I'm going only at the meetings where it's, let's say, the CEO there or the owner. And my first question, is there a strategy in that sense of digital transformation, on digital twin, in what sustainability? And I'm trying to see if they have objectives for the company and for every department to be aligned in that process, because this transformation usually takes a while. And it's not about the technology, because that you can put in place, but it's about how you are working and how you are using that information to achieve your goals in the department or for the company. So it's about the strategy and aligning all those things, because in the end, as you said, the board will decide if it's a feasible or it's not a feasible thing to adopt. And if you cannot translate how that into money, you're not gonna implement or adapt.
I think many, because it's happening it's so much stuff going on in general right now, right? So I think prioritize, but also have a strategy of like, in 2 years, we will be here. We want a digital twin. We want this. We want a 10x. But like, I haven't really seen like a roadmap mapping of their, real estate and their clients. Where do we think our tenants will be in 2 years or 4 years? And combine that with the goals of sustainability and taxonomy 2030. Combine 2030 sustainability and taxonomy together with the technique, and consider what kind of people do we need to move this 5 years ahead, and what kind of softwares or products do we actually need to align with that goals. I that's what I've sometimes a lot missing, and maybe some have that, but I haven't seen that properly again. And so
it's a part. I like to research some time for the, let's say, for strategies for public companies. So I try to dig in to see exactly if those things are connected. And now we're in the early phases, so you have a lot to do the awareness part for actually a really big industry.
Yeah, and this is one of the things, like you said, it's like I saw a map of European ecosystem map yesterday. So they have big, deep tech and medical. That they had. I think that's food. They had like this 5 categories of the biggest in Europe. But the thing is, what people don't understand is real estate is the biggest asset class in the world, right?
Yeah.
And still we're fighting about taking the bits of this category of European like tech sea. It's like we should PropTech again, and construction tech should be not if it's not number one, maybe number two, or on that map, because it's the world's largest asset class. And I think that's so strange when I'm talking to some of these EU politics or in the startup scene in Sweden. Oh, PropTech, what is that? I was like, I think we have and that's where we together can make more awareness, because the real estate has always been something over there. But again, we spend, what is it, 87 to 90% of our time indoors. So just to create awareness of what's going on in the ecosystem will help everyone.
Yeah, for sure. It's good that we have initiatives right now, and we're seeing some, at least in our part of Europe, let's say European Union, it's pushing to BIM adoption. For
Mm.
example, in Romania, we're seeing that in public tenders, we're seeing a push for BIM adoption, because in the end, who's the biggest owner and operator of buildings in a country? It's the state, it's the administration. So
Yeah.
to take care of those buildings, to understand what assets do they have and how to deal with that, they need that part. So
And that's what I'm asking about the climate neutral city and so on. It's like, I know you signed the agreement. It's 5 years. It's 20 board meetings left. I always use the board meeting. What's going on in the board? What are you talking about? And what decision have you taken? And what decision are you going to take on these 20 board meeting left? So it's, yeah, I totally agree with the state and government. Yeah.
one major challenge in PropTech, it's the lack of integration from what I've seen so far. I'm more in, let's say, in construction phases, but this is what I've seen from, let's say, all those startups.
Mm.
It's not a big discussion, even at the conferences and so on, about the interoperability and the standardization part. How are things seen from your side?
Well, the good thing is, well, we had a really good initiative in Sweden that calls Real Estate Core. So Real Estate Core is a building standard, what they're trying to push in Sweden. They've been around for 10, 15 years now. So they've been pushing it, Real Estate Core, a lot. I know Skanska, Vasakronan, our largest real estate owner, use it to have the same language. One of the challenges, of course, it's partly owned, I think, or something like that, or it's not, maybe not anymore, but it's open source. So with that, together with open source platforms that are out there, I think it's a change in the industry with the integrations in general. I think there needs to be some kind of open source platform that's not owned by anyone to make this work. I know Real Estate Core is they're pushing in the Nordics right now to really try to make this a standard. Some of those, they have a lot of integrations and so on. So it's something to look at. Our Real Estate Core is like I said, is Swedish. Have a look at that. The other thing I'm seeing is actually, it's because of the API and everyone knows the integration and the big players start to open up. I don't think this is going to be a huge problem in the future, because you know with AI and converting languages and all the bots and chatbots, and it's like, is this going to actually be a problem in the future when the whole the data can actually transform and convert it by themselves? I don't know. What I've seen though is we have two companies in Sweden, Hugia Real Estate System and Piceno. So they are a business system, and they have done a lot of integration to our system. So I think they are one of those who's really, really good. And I think that's going to be one of the changes in the industry. So I do agree with you. It haven't been talks a lot. We haven't solved it yet, but I think it's going to be easier in the future. So I
And
don't think we have to dig into it.
if we're looking in the future, how do you see that will evolve in let's say 5 years? And how do you see PropTech Sweden and will evolve, and your activity as well?
Well, one of the things is, like I said, I think the whole sector will be more open and global. I think you working with your local real estate members or customers, and when you get that, I think you can. Real estate will always be local because the asset class is local, right? So from that point of view, I think that's one of the things that we always going to hatch. It's a very local business, even from between cities. And we just have to respect that. Number two, we have to start understanding of it takes time. The laws, regulation, it takes between 10 to 15 years before we really can scale. So just to get that understanding. From PropTech Sweden's approach and my approach, we're really working really hard to get more delegation trips. So what we want to do in the future is actually go to other cities more and actually have more of investors and delegation trip to Sweden to show the best of breed. I see that my internet is talking about internet and technique. It's maybe slowing down here. Sorry for that.
No worries. No worries. My side, it's good. I can hear you and I can see you.
Okay, perfect. So I think we're going to push more for, like I said, PropTech Sweden, we want to welcome delegation trips to Sweden to show what we are good at. And we want to go to other countries to see what they are good at. And then we want to match those systems together. It's like, what can we take from you? And what can you take from us? And combine that with the laws and regulation. Which laws and regulation is actually good in the country? And which laws or regulation is bad and doesn't help the industry? If we can take those combinations together, I think we can help the industry.
That's great. Because we're almost at the end of our conversation, I want to ask you some, let's say, perspectives, recommendation, and as you said, you try to balance the intensity of your business life with your personal life. What do you have any hobbies, habits that help you to balance that? And do you sail now? Do you play football, or do you have you're making?
Oh yeah, actually starting to play football on Sundays again. I'm not playing in the Sunday league football here in London though; it's too dangerous. But I'm playing with a little older man around the corner here. So yeah, so we're still playing football, absolutely. Combination with the kids it's of course I have two kids, 5 and 7, so they are they're taking a lot of time from that point of view, of course, because they can't walk to school by themselves and so on. So it's just a combination of that together with your partner, and it's always a struggle, isn't it? It's hard. We try to help each other, and who has that, and who can do the pickups and drop offs and so on. From my point of view, we are lucky. Our family love to travel, and because we have family all around the world. We have family in Beirut, we have family in Sweden, and in London, in UK. So we travel a lot, and that's a good way for us to keep connecting with the family because I'm traveling a lot.
We're traveling a lot with the family and for business purpose as well. That's right.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
That's great.
So
I like to do that also.
Well, the only thing is, again, I just feel sorry for kids in general because they're stuck to like the office, they're stuck to school and they have to go like everyone else. I think that's the next, we can talk about that in another episode.
Yeah.
About the future schooling. And then in general, I mean, my colleague Marcus, he's, as soon as we travel, he's always on me. Let's go for a run in the morning. We have our cappuccino in the morning, have a chat. Again, just be aware, be kind, and take your time. It's so much busy. I mean, like I said, with LinkedIn, and you can be everywhere and nowhere. So when you're present, take the time to be present with people. And one of the recommendations I have is when you go into conferences is don't try to do everything on a conference. My recommendation when I go to event and conference is find 2 to 3 good panels. find 1 to 3 new clients or clients you want to meet. Spend some time with family and friends at the conference and be happy for that. That's what you have time for. If you've done that on one conference day, you had a good conference day. Don't be everywhere. I think that has helped me a lot when I go to all these conferences.
That came from a salesman with a lot of history in that sense and with a lot of experience in being, attending, and organizing conferences as well. Finally, if you could recommend one person as a future DT Vector guest, who would it be and why?
I think I have to say we have the old Swedish mayor from Stockholm, and she's out there and talking a lot about urban cities, and she has really worked with Stockholm City to be a more greener and sustainable city. I could highly recommend her. She's great to listen to, and she has a lot of experience, both from the politician, but also from working with investing in PropTech fund and also being a part of the ecosystem. So she's a very, very great person to listen to from all that experience she has.
That's great. Thank you for that. And thank you on this PropTech for sure. It's a lot to speak about, and I think we've missed some stories, but we can let that for a future episode. Thank you
The
again
next
for
conference.
yeah. Exactly. Thank you once again for being here and telling all the stories.
Thank you
Uh,
so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you all for watching today's episodes of DT Vector. Until next time, I'm Eugen Ursu, and this is DT Vector, the platform that is connecting the dots of the build tours. Until next time, bye bye.